My name is Mark Sinclair. I've lived in Grand Beach area for all my life and have been a commercial fisherman, work as a firefighter, and work as a manager within the provincial parks. My father, he was basically a commercial fisherman all his life, and so was his father. Myself, I got involved in it in 1978. My father at the time had taken ill. I was just getting out of high school and had trained for other things other than commercial fishing, which wasn't really on my plan, but due to the situation, I thought, best that I took the licenses over for the time being. And I ended up commercial fishing for 17 years. Fortunately, after a few years, my father was able to come back to the commercial fishing, and he actually spent the rest of his life commercial fishing, and when he passed away, he actually had nets still in the water that we had to go out and remove. So he enjoyed his life on the water. Earlier than my father, like the commercial fishing industry here in the province, didn't really become a commercial fishing industry until in the 1870s, at which time buyers from the United States would come into Manitoba and purchase the fish from the commercial fishermen. A lot of the people that lived in the area that didn't commercial fish, they still fished, but it was more for their own personal use, for family use. Back in the early days, there was no outboard motors and such. It was all basically skiffs, which is a flat bottom boat, or yawls that were used. The yawl being the better boat because of the sharp bottom on it, and it was better for the lake. And both boats were made out of wood at the time. And so there was a lot of work keeping up the boats. You used to have to, they called it chalking the boats, and I was putting a cloth in between the wood. And because if you didn't, you would spring leaks quite often. Eventually, the commercial fishermen started getting outboard motors, and they went away from using oars. But however, they were like as small as 5 horsepower motors. My uncle had bought a 5 horsepower motor for his boat, and he was quite proud of himself. And so he was leaving the shore to go to his nets, and my father and my uncle left the shore at the same time with their boat that they were rowing. And they decided to have a competition. And my father and uncle beat my other uncle by rowing because his little 5 horsepower motor was just a little bit too small for his boat. And the other setback to that was once you had a lot of fish in your boat, the 5 horsepower motor really wasn't enough to continue on. So back to the oars.
Hi, my name is Orville Norman Doc Vezina. I'm from Patricia Beach, Stony Point, Highway 319, Manitoba. I've been commercial fishing for 50 years. I fished. Between cutting wood and fishing and all that. And fishing, we never got a lot of fish. My family, like it was a family affair. My son and my wife, my son Kelly. And we went all over fishing, all over the place. All over the Lake Winnipeg, 10 miles out or go north of Riverton. I even fished away up in Norway House, Warren's Landing. And you get out there, and the first thing you do is you untangle your running line, to get the jigger going under the ice, make a hole, and start setting the nets out there. And do you ever see how they pull a jigger? Well, you have a line that's 100 yards long, and you pull it, and it goes, and that thing moves about 3 feet at a time because it hooks under the ice. And then you do this, and then you have someone going ahead of the jigger, listening to that picking of the sound, the picking of it. And then when you get to the 100 yards, if you really want to find the jigger, because if you can't, it's a lot of work. There was no augers in them days. There were just a chisel and needle bar, it was called. So you'd have to be right on to be able to find the jigger. So then you would knock the thing, and there's a knocker on the jigger that really sounds on the ice, under the ice. And that's how you pick that up. So you make your hole there, and then you pick the line up, and lo and behold, there it is. you got it. We had really a tough time to eating and living, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.